opposition, not just in politics, but in media and culture. And something that a lot of people I feel like aren't paying attention to, or maybe perhaps are just too nice and kind to realize that there's a move to take the magic that was built over social media over the next 5, 6, 7, or last 5, 6, 7 years and basically funnel it back to the establishment and people that can control you and mislead you, similar to a Romney or a McCain. And then I also want to talk about election season censorship, because every election season, whether it's 2018, 2020, 2022, 2024, they always make moves on everybody. And of course, it's happened to me. I just want to tell people about it. And then I want to move on to the second story. But that's what it is today. Hope you guys enjoy. And I'm going to try to keep this under 45 to 50 minutes so it's more listenable and shareable. And also, I have an interview with UFC fighter Renato Money Moicano later today at 12 o'clock. So I got to run after that too. Should be fun. Let you guys know. And Dreamer podcast starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Let's see. Someone said no foul language today. Nathan, that's the plan. Ready? For you and for everybody, for the godly people of the world, no curses today, okay? I'm not going to swear. I'm not going to curse. I'm going to be calm, cool, collected, and hopefully intelligent. Someone said I'm preaching to the choir. I'm sure I am. That's why I'm not going to spend too much time on certain topics. But what's up, Shauna? What's up, Video Loser? That's an interesting name. Why not Video Winner 17? Why Video Loser? I don't get it. But anyway, let's get into the stories. And I think I forgot to go live on Rumble, so I guess we're just on Facebook and YouTube. Like I said earlier, for those who are just joining in, I have a really interesting interview in a couple of hours with this guy. His name is Money Moicano. He's a UFC fighter. He's from Brazil. He speaks English. He's really cool. And he had a really funny post-fight rant about how he wants to be a SWAT member and kill the bad guys in America because America's falling apart. So I think you guys will enjoy that video. We'll definitely not just talk about fighting. I'll try to talk about politics too. So I got my coffee today, or actually it's a latte. So I'm moving a little slow. This is not like an official, like I'm talking about 20 different stories show. I just want to stick to certain points that I'm making. I'm going to play this Instagram reel or Facebook, whatever the kids are calling it these days, because I made this to explain one of the biggest comments I've gotten on Instagram. It's like, why do you talk about Republicans so much? You never talk about Democrats, which is not technically true. If you go to my Instagram, I do have videos on Eric Adams and Newsom, and I do criticize Democrats as well, but I absolutely do talk about Republicans more than Democrats. Here's just a quick video I made. Instead of talking for 2 hours about it and confusing people, I'm like, let me try to simplify what I mean to show people, and hopefully people get what I'm talking about. So here that is, because I think it's the perfect intro to what I'm about to talk about. So as a registered Republican, why do I call out Republicans more than Democrats? Let me give you 2 quick examples. If the New York Knicks are playing the Los Angeles Lakers and you're on the New York Knicks, if 4 out of 5 of your teammates are playing for the other team and you don't know, and they're always going to pretend to make it close, but they're going to score on your own basket at the last second and lose, it's impossible to win. It doesn't matter how much you dislike the other team. If most of your team isn't really your team, that's the most important issue to talk about. That's why they don't mind when people talk in circles about other stuff, because it's not going anywhere. The second example, imagine if you knew the Democrats were going to hit you in the head with a hammer, and then the Republicans funded a hammer, welded a hammer, bought the hammer, passed a liability shield saying Democrats could hit you with the hammer without paying for side effects, injuries, or death, and then gave the hammer to Democrats, and then Democrats hit you with the hammer and Republicans stand there and go, but we didn't mandate it, but we didn't hit you with the hammer, but we didn't want them to hit you with the hammer. That's what Republicans do all the time, including with Operation Warp Speed, and Trump's one of the better ones. Just look at the TikTok scam bill and how many of these quote-unquote patriots were actually on our side. It's not many. Until both sides of politics learn this, it's really just a circular circus going nowhere. Follow my page and share this video if you like it, and realize that there's a lot of money to be made, making sure you never figure. So yeah, I've talked about that a lot, but I made it into a simple video. I was like, the reason I talk about Republicans more than Democrats are obviously not making sense right now. Like when it comes to the vaccine stuff, they're the obvious opposition, right? They're trying to mandate it. They're trying to force you to wear pharmaceutical masks for 3 years. They're shutting down kids' schools. It's obvious. It should be talked about and combated. But what's more troublesome to me is like we have 2 parties and really just 2 political movements in this country. It's like the media Democrat establishment and all the normies versus like Trump and his supporters. I'm not saying that's all it is, but you get it. That's essentially like the power dynamic. But this is the point that a lot of people have been missing. What if our team wasn't really on our team? Like they were just like, oh. So that's the video I made for that. Before I get into the controlled opposition stuff, I just want to talk about censorship briefly. And I don't talk about censorship barely ever anymore because no one cares anymore because everyone's getting censored. So when censorship first happened, like say 4 years ago, 5 years ago, if they would have demonetized my Facebook or Instagram, everybody really cares. They're like, oh my gosh, oh no, that's so bad. Like let's try to help them out. But now everyone gets censored. Probably 90% of my chat has been censored in some sort of way. And I think they call that like, there's a metaphor or a simile or analogy. I don't know which one it would technically be. Death by 1,000 cuts. That's how they got us with censorship. In 2015, 14, 13, there was virtually no censorship. Maybe they censored some pharmaceutical stuff, but for the most part, everything was a free flow discussion or sort of free. And then it's like censor Alex Jones, Donald Trump, and then they go down the list and everyone's censored. And now when you talk about it, it's like, cool, that's just part of everyday living. We eat, we breathe, we pay taxes, we get censored. And it's troubling because it's on one hand, it's like, for me, it's my income. So I'll tell my story real quick before I get into the controlled opposition thing, where it's like, they're overnight, they take more than half of my income and you don't even see me sweat or complain because I'm just used to it by now and I don't care. But I mean, I obviously do care, but it's not cool. On the other hand, it's like they're doing it to everyone. And why that matters is they're going to manipulate outcomes of elections and culture and society just by tweaking everybody, taking money away from me, taking power away from you, shutting down this person's that. They found out a real strategic way to just like, without looking like they're really changing the discussion, just take a little bit from everyone so they just have less. I don't want to talk about it too much because I feel like it's way more boring than my second subject, but Instagram and Facebook are two of my biggest pages. A week ago, my Instagram got totally demonetized, which means I can't make $1 on it. And the reason was because I made a video about Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley said he wanted to punch people in the face who wore a Trump shirt or whatever, a Trump mugshot shirt. I literally disagreed with him, and Instagram took the video down, right? They say, you're trying to incite violence. And they said, are we getting this wrong? And it's like, yeah, of course you're getting it wrong. I didn't incite violence. I told Charles Barkley not to incite violence. But they reviewed it, their team reviewed it, and they still said that I was inciting violence. There's an option to say, you misread it. I'm not inciting violence. I'm showing an example of it so I could say no to it. And they didn't even care. So it's like, I know they're purposely doing it. Whatever. Facebook, that's my main source of revenue, just to be honest. I'm at a conference yesterday and I look at my phone and it says, you've been demonetized, which means I can make no money. I'm not going to get into how much that is, but it's a large portion of the money I make. Without Facebook, my whole business model is different. I look at why a 2022 video that I posted about Kanye West. They said that it was 2022. It's over two years old. Nobody cares about it because they said that I took intellectual property from somebody. And I'm not sure who I took intellectual property from, but I played a clip of the news just like I do all the time, just like everyone does all the time. That's literally the whole internet. It would be like saying you took intellectual property with a meme, so now we're going to shut your whole page down. This is not normal behavior. And before that, they've been taking my revenue on every Facebook video by claiming I'm using other people's songs when it's literally just my voice talking. So it's like, now I'm not going to complain about it and play the victim because I'm used to it and I've built a different business model. They've taken over half of my revenue just in the last week. They've demonetized me on my two major platforms, and I'm getting hundreds of thousands of views on videos that they don't pay for, even if they don't demonetize me. So it's like, if I talk about this 3 years ago, people rally behind me and they're like, enough is enough. We need to make sure Anomaly stays afloat. I'm fine. I don't need your help. I'll ask later. But in general, it's like, now nobody cares. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, like you should care about me. It's hard to care because everyone's getting censored all the time. So it's like, if one person's getting censored, you help that person. If 20 million people are getting censored and they're trying to take TikTok and buy it so nobody has a different platform that's outside of their power control, it's like, okay, it's impossible to help everybody. So it's like election season. Now here comes the Trump Biden election. Here comes the censorship. And this is what they do. And I think, with my profession, just to kind of segue into the controlled opposition, this is part of how they try to control you, right? if it's kind of like with the COVID vaccine, like most people didn't want to get the COVID vaccine. They just said they had to get the COVID vaccine. Why did you have to get it? Well, I wanted to keep my job. I wanted to see my family. I wanted to fly. I wanted to travel. They took things away from you like a slave master or like you know what I'm saying, a thief, really, and said, you want your stuff back that you had a day ago? And you go, yeah. And they're like, well, do what I say, and then I'll give your stuff back. Well, what do you want me to do? I want you to inject yourself with synthetic mRNA or a Johnson and Johnson double pumpy, a Trumpy pumpy, or a Fauci ouchie. This is what they do to me. They've done it to me 30 times. So most people, I'm just being honest, most people probably would sell out to somebody, because if 70% of your income disappears overnight and you have a family to feed or you have rent to pay, most people just sell out. I don't even talk about the censorship and the money they take from me anymore, because I don't even care. At this point, it's like I'd rather go broke than deal with these people. But, you know, I've learned to build a business model around it, and I consider it a message to just keep building a business model around it so you don't care. But it's one of these difficult things as well, because also on one hand, you want to say, I don't care about Facebook. I don't care about Instagram. I got deleted from TikTok. I don't care. It's not just about the money and the business. It's about reaching people. You know, if you sign a $10 billion deal with Rumble, you're reaching 1% of the world. You know, and what are we really trying to do if we're not impacting public perception and we're not impacting the culture and trying to shift culture in the right direction? Then all the money in the world doesn't matter. So, you know, I don't want to talk about this topic too much, although I do find it somewhat interesting. It's a balance of, like, obviously I wouldn't sell out, but most people do because they have to, the same way most people had to get a vaccine. And then also it's like, you know, saying to build your business model around it. I can do that, but every time I do that, I'm losing access to people, which is the whole reason I started this in the first place. So it's like, what's the point of making videos if nobody sees them, even if you have a niche audience and are gaining traction and money and stuff? So, you know, I'm just letting you guys know, election season, censorship is back. Every election season, they take my money. Facebook is taking it and Instagram's taking it within a week. I don't think it's random. I don't think it's coincidental. How are you going to go back a year and a half to delete a Kanye West, Lex Friedman discussion that I had, and say that it's intellectual property, as if everyone's not chopping clips up? And it's 2 years old. Why didn't you get rid of it a year and a half ago? It's all just a joke. But, you know, I want to talk about, to segue into this stuff, the controlled opposition, because that's part of how they control certain people. It's like, if you can't make a living in media, you can't do it. And I know a lot of people, they think that obviously, like, most influencers are annoying. You know, there's a lot of people just out there that you're like, who cares about you? Oh, you make TikToks for a living? Screw you. You make Facebook videos for a living? Screw you. You know, like, we all have this human instinct to say, F you, go get a real job, right? People say it to me all the time. As much as it annoys me, because I'm myself, I get it. I'm like, yeah, like, who cares what I think? You know, whatever. But at the same time, it's like, if I don't get to do my news, and PBD hires Chris Cuomo, the Democrat, to have this fake controlled opposition argument in circles, and then Daily Wire builds up this real estate and these people, it's like, really what people are trying to do, and I'm not saying they're bad, they're just trying to take over and then kind of like X everybody else out that doesn't have a piece of the pie. And it's like, it's going to go right back to where it was. We spent all this energy trying to, you know, beat the mainstream media and beat the Democratic Party and the fake Republicans. And I see what they're doing. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, is how they're really sneakily funneling it all back to the same exact place. And they prey on the fact that Republicans are, you know, as mean as people say that Republicans are. I do think that Republicans are very naive, and actually in some cases too nice, where it's just too easy to please certain people. Like, they listen to words and all you have to say is like one thing and then they're on your side. And as nice as it can be, it's like, I see that there's business people out there that are taking advantage of that. I'm going to start with one that I didn't even mean to talk about him, but like Vivek, right? People think I'm like hateful or negative. Of course, I gave an interview to him that you guys could watch, but this was kind of like my whole thought process from the beginning. It's like 2020 was the craziest year. 2021, 2022, vaccines, mandates, lockdowns. Like, if you're pro freedom, pro liberty, pro constitution, you probably would have said something during the Trump era, you know, and if you didn't say anything during the Trump era of 2016 to 2020, you probably said some really important stuff from 2020 to 2022. And if you didn't, it doesn't mean you're a bad person, but this is just my thought process. I don't want to spend too much time on it, because this is not a video about Vivek Ramaswamy at all. But it's like, you have this pharmaceutical billionaire that pops up as this Republican who said he cried on January 6th because he was so sad about democracy or whatever. And now he's like Mr. Ultra MAGA. It's not to say that, and then people misconstrue what I'm saying. They'll be like, are you saying that no one deserves a second chance? Of course, that's not what I'm saying. Everyone deserves a second, third, or fourth chance. Maybe not with like theft and violent crime, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm just like, what people don't understand perhaps is everyone's not a good actor. And I'm not saying you have to judge him for this live stream, but it's like, what if I told you that the billionaires, the pharmaceutical CEOs, the politicians, the media heads, people like Chris Cuomo, people like Don Lemon, people like Brian Stelter, what if everyone knows now that what they're doing is not working? Like, they rode the liberal train off the tracks. They destroyed New York City. They destroyed San Francisco. They destroyed Austin. They destroyed Minneapolis. They destroyed the country. They destroyed the youth. They destroyed our Constitution. They destroyed the economy. They've destroyed America. And now that they've destroyed America, their train is off the tracks. They're like, liberals are not making money right now in media. Who's making all the money? Joe Rogan, Andrew Schultz, Theo Vaughn, Dana White, although he's a UFC guy, Daily Wire. You know what I'm saying? These people are making the money. So all the opportunists, like, do you think Chris Cuomo ever believed what he said on CNN? Does Don Lemon? Well, go watch old videos of Don Lemon. He used to sound like Bill O'Reilly. He said, pull up your pants, black people, and stop acting like thugs. That was what Don Lemon used to say when that was popular in 2013, 2012. Now, all of a sudden, Don Lemon's, Al Sharpton meets Martin Luther King meets, Sean King. He's not really either of those people. He's just an opportunist. And this world, especially of politics and media, is filled with opportunists. So what I'm saying is the opportunity, and I know this because not only do I see it and I analyze it, but I know a lot of stuff behind the scenes as well, just from dealing with people and having a lot of friends in the space, is like, at a certain point after COVID, these people, and by these people, I mean the pharmaceutical companies, the opportunists, the politicians, the sneaky media people, they probably made hundreds of billions of dollars through the COVID lockdowns, minimum. They fleeced you dry. As soon as they fleece you dry, you're broke, you have no money. I'm not saying everybody has no money, but you get what I'm saying. It's like they just robbed you. And now it's like everybody's pissed off, right? Oh, the economy sucks. Oh my gosh, like Democrats are crazy. So then all the people who just robbed you, they don't want to get in trouble for what they just did. So then they go stand on the right wing and they stand in the truther movement. And they're like, who's getting more numbers than Chris Cuomo? Anomaly. You know who's getting bigger numbers than Brian Stelter? Anomaly. Who do you think could sell more tickets if you said, no corporations, no co-hosts or anything? It's not like CNN's putting it on. It's like, here, let's go see Brian Stelter. That guy can't sell 30 tickets. The only one who could save them is a Patrick Bet-David or some of these other, like their career's dead in the water. No, there is no audience for that. They've already milked America dry selling lockdowns and vaccines, and everybody's pissed off about it. So now all of the money is going to Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, Daily Wire, conservatives, Candace. You know what I'm saying? So these people that just fleeced you dry are like, oh, maybe I'm that now. And people think I'm being rude or hateful, like, oh, he doesn't deserve a second chance. Of course he does. But you gotta like have a thought process. It would be like if America, this is a bad example because like I'm not saying America, well, they are kind of fighting Russia, but say America's fighting Russia, right? And like there's a Russian spy that literally wants to destroy your nation, and they've killed thousands of American soldiers. And then you meet him one day and he says something nice to you and you're like, oh, let's let him on our team. And I'm like, guys, that's a Russian spy. And they're like, no, he's cool with us. We talked to him for 10 minutes. I'm like, guys, he's killed thousands of Americans. No, he's cool. Like, I'm not saying that no one deserves a second chance, but you got to vet and really think about it and make these people show that they are loyal to you, not just using you. And here's what I'm trying to say is that Republicans are too easy to trick. Like, literally all you have to do is a sit down conversation with Tucker Carlson, and I didn't even watch it, to be honest, because I don't care. But if someone watched it in the comment sections, let me know. Did Tucker Carlson do a real journalistic interview asking him why he oversold pharmaceuticals in lockdowns, telling him about the hundreds of thousands or millions of people that lost their business, lost their job, lost their family, couldn't see their family in a hospital? I mean, you talk about when people cross over to the afterlife, not being able to see your family in a hospital, what the like I don't even want to get into all the things they did during COVID, but like they were so evil. Satan looked at them and was like jealous. Like even Satan probably was like, how did you guys think of this stuff? Like diabolical. The stuff they did during COVID, diabolical. Not allowing people to see their family members when they're dying, not being able to have a funeral, not being able to travel, vaccine mandates, diabolical. Chris Cuomo is a demon. Patrick Bet-David to me is like Fox News meets Rachel Maddow now. I think he's diabolical. And I could get more into that another time, but it's just like, it's not me being hateful or rude. It's just like, all the opportunists, all the pharmaceutical CEOs like Vivek, all of these people, they've milked that industry dry. Vivek's made $1 billion selling pharmaceuticals. Now he's a Republican. You know why? Because that's where the money is now. Joe Rogan's doing $250 million contracts. Who are the two biggest contracts? Or let's do three biggest contracts, because there's three public contracts that were offered to the public. Let's go through it. Joe Rogan getting $250 million, maybe more. Tucker Carlson, everyone was offering him hundreds of millions of dollars, and Steven Crowder, who was offered $60 to $120 million by Daily Wire. It's all Republicans. It's all conservatives. It's all people that go against the pharmaceutical industry to some extent. It's all people who question the mainstream narrative. So all the grifters, all the opportunists, all the scammers, all the liars, all the demons, instead of pretending to be left-wing demons, they're pretending to be right-wing demons now. It's like they know that, like, pushing George Floyd in 2020 was popular. That's why they all did it. Now it's not popular anymore. People like Candace Owens kind of won over that argument over time, and others. So now they're like, oh, maybe I can like Trump. Maybe I can be this person. And everyone's falling for it. And everyone's saying, oh, this is a real discussion. This is what the country needs. This is going to bring us all together. How is it going to bring us all together? Did Fox News bring America together when they hired, what was her name? Donna Brazile? Has America gotten better since they, like, these are not real discussions, folks. It's like Donna Brazile was so corrupt that even the DNC had trouble keeping her afloat. So she can't even keep a job at one of the most corrupt political entities in recent history. So then Fox News hires her. The DNC doesn't even want her. And Fox News says, oh, we need a Democrat on our side. Donna Brazile, that's who you chose. Like, out of all the Democrats, you choose the lady who got fired from the DNC for corruption? That's diabolical. And then they'll sit there and tell you on Fox News, we don't want to be an echo chamber. Then get some real people. This is a lie. They do want to be an echo chamber. Their business model is keeping your head under the sand and making sure that you never know anything. Because it's like the same with when you watch these, we talked about it the other day, but real quick, when you watch these physical specimen athletes that are like jacked and strong, and they run fast and they eat good and they sleep on time and they do all these things that most humans don't do to get to in that shape and be so good. Like, they're literally like top performance athletes physically. And then the commercials come on and they give you the cattle fodder. Here's the cattle fodder food. Here's the cattle fodder pharmaceuticals. Here's all these things that these athletes would never take. Moo, moo, moo. You guys take them. Okay, back to the show. This is how they treat you on all these mainstream networks. It's like Rachel Maddow versus Ana Navarro, or, Sean Hannity arguing with Donna Brazile. This is not real left or right discussion. This is controlled opposition, circular arguments designed to make you mad, sell pharmaceutical pills, sell fast food, and make sure that you never really know what's going on. And as they're having these controlled opposition debates, anybody that's honest, whether they're left wing or right wing, is blacklisted from the media. And you guys don't see it, but notes go out and they say, don't have this person on your podcast. He's hateful. All the people that claim that others are haters, they're the most hateful people. It's always like the nastiest, angriest, sneakiest people that are like, they're hateful, they're hateful, they're hateful. And it's like everything out of their mouth is hate. But they just hate the truth. They hate honesty. They hate calmness. They hate, in some cases, Jesus Christ. It's obvious. So they just say everyone's being hateful and then use their power behind the scenes to shut off any real opposition. And then they just sell you on the fake opposition. So the concept is just like with politicians. I don't need really to spend that much time to explain how they buy politicians. Like, money, I don't know. Like, you got to, in order to be there, you need $50 million to win your race. Who's giving you $50 million? It's not just Democrats and it's not just rhinos. Even the people that you think aren't rhinos are rhinos. I like Trump more than most Republicans. He's a rhino. I like DeSantis more than most Republicans. He's a rhino. The governor of North Dakota took money from Bill Gates in order to win his election. What do you think he's doing to North Dakota if he's taking money from Bill Gates? And these people get celebrated because people don't see things through the lens of let's do objective analysis on what these people are doing and where they're getting their money from to run for office. People just have really like low level thinking and they just say, well, Doug Burgum likes Trump, so he must be based. He must be a rhino. And this is no offense, but I guess actual offense, whatever, take it how you want. That's what's going to go on things like the PBD podcast now. They don't know that. They don't talk about how Doug Burnham took Bill Gates' money. Like they'll probably have some lazy analysis where they'll be like, oh, based. Everybody who likes Trump's based. And then Chris Cuomo comes on and he just is false opposition. He's not a real liberal or a real left winger. He's like the big, like he'll be whoever he has to be for money. He was whoever, like, does he really not know what gender is? He doesn't know the truth about the pharmaceutical industry. He doesn't know the truth about the foreign wars. Him as a strong guy, like he's not a weak or fat person. Chris Cuomo looks like he takes care of himself. He doesn't know how bad lockdowns are physically, mentally, and spiritually. No, he's a demon. He'll do what he has to do to keep the job. And now there's no job there for him. So he goes to the other side. And now that's the discussions that they're going to have. It's going to be low level right wing babble versus corporate establishment left wing babble / maybe I can be right wing babble / maybe that's not so bad babble to keep people completely stuck. The same way politicians sell out to corporate sponsors is the same. It's going to be different in media, but I just want to get through the politics first. I'm like double tasking. People only care about politics and money if it goes with their narrative, which is why nothing changes in the country. Left wingers don't care about money and politics anymore. Maybe they sort of do, but most of the time they really don't. Like they don't challenge their politicians on donor money anymore. And on the right, it's like everyone only cares if someone's taking donor money and selling out, if it's not Trump or one of Trump's friends, or if there's no one to blame. So then nothing really changes. In the media world, they see authenticity as the new currency. They see trutherism as the new currency. Like, let me give you an example. 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm trying to think. One was 28, 2009, 2010. Like, it wasn't popular to tell the truth. Conspiracy theories, everybody thought everything was a conspiracy theory. My whole life, everyone called me a conspiracy theorist. Nobody agreed with me. Even like none of my friends agreed with me. It's just like, there was no market for trutherism, maybe a little market for like Alex Jones or Bill Cooper, but even that was nothing to write home about. So everyone did the normal thing, right? When I had meetings, they told me not to talk about politics. They told me don't talk about conspiracy theories or whatever. I said no. In my head, I told myself, and I'm the type of person, I don't care if it doesn't work. I'm not budging. I'm very stubborn when it comes to things I believe. My bet long term was, I believe the truth is going to age well. I believe if I am not authentic, it's not going to work. I bet on myself and I bet on being authentic in order to make it, even though I could have quickly made it by selling out, but I was like, let me go the long route and this is going to work. Fast forward 15 years, it did work. Like I was right. Now all the people that look at the people that are coming to take all the truth or an authentic money. It's people who sold insurance schemes. It's people who sold pharmaceuticals. It's people who are selling Bud Light right now. It's people who sell demonic music about telling white kids to do drugs and stuff, and pills. And even though they're like 50 now, they've never changed. Like we all had a moment where we talked about that stuff, but like you're still talking about it in your 30s and 40s. I mean, that's degenerate. So that's what's going on. All the opportunists that would sell anything, whether it's insurance, pharmaceuticals, I would never do any of those things. But now they're like, oh, what's the new currency? It's authenticity. It's truth. Conservatism is more popular. So they're like, let's do that. But they don't really want to do it. It's not like, oh, I'm doing this because this is the right thing to do. It's like the same way Apple doesn't sell apples. They're like, let's trademark Apple and make apples. You're like, you're making apples? They're like, we own Apple, the word, but no, we don't make actual apples, or a GMO Monsanto company where they say, we can't own organic food. So if we genetically modify it, we can own it and then patent it. That's why they GMO so much stuff. There's a lot of reasons that they do it, but one of the reasons, because some people say it's so good, maybe in some cases it makes sense, and people are always like, "Oh, you eat this, it's good for you," and the GMO, and it's like a lot of it is because they can't own an organic food. You can't just own a carrot. You can't own all apples, but you can own the Apple brand, and you can own a genetically modified apple that you created in the lab, and then you patent that and nobody else could patent it. So the reason they're doing it is to own it, but it's not real. It's the same thing going on in media. They look at what I'm doing and they look at what others have been doing for years, before me, after me, whoever. Just think of good people, and they're like, oh, they're doing well. How do we copy what they're doing, replace them with shitty people, and then pretend like we're doing that and just suck up all the ad revenue and convince all the advertisers to pay us 10, 20 grand an ad, even though we don't even get the returns. We don't even have that big of an audience. Who do we need to get on our side? Trump supporters. How do we get Trump supporters on our side? Just yell Trump. Just go Trump, 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 Trump. They don't care. You know what I'm saying? Just back Trump. Say Alvin Bragg's wrong. That's all you have to do. Throw them like a little piece of meat, and they'll be on your side forever. And then if you hire someone like Chris Cuomo, they'll be like, oh, that's real discussion. It's like, it's not real discussion. It's real false paradigms. But if it gets clicks and ad revenue and money, that's what a lot of people care about. Like Fox News, it's like, are they enlightening the world? No. Are they solving any problem? No. Are they getting deep enough to fix anything? Absolutely not. If you get deep enough to actually fix anything, will they invite you on the show? Probably not. I mean, a good example is Tucker Carlson. He's not even the deepest person in the world or anything. Like, he's not deep diving on every topic, but he is a curious journalist on certain topics that inspire him. And he pushed back against the pharmaceutical industry. He was the only one at Fox who really did that to any sort of meaningful extent, at least. What happened to him? They kicked him out. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what they do. And I understand that now there's a little more freedom in the podcast space, but I just see it as they've seen, because they weren't authentic for the last 20 years. They weren't telling the truth for the last 20 years. They're not doing it now because they think it's the right thing to do. They're doing it now because it makes money. I guarantee you, a lot of these people, a lot of these CEOs and pharmaceutical people that all of a sudden are MAGA, 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 I guarantee you, if all the money was in the Democratic side, they'd have a pussy hat on and be yelling BLM, BLM. The same way Vivek went on TV and said he cried on January 6th, because at that time, he probably thought it made business sense to say that he was sad about the devastating events on January 6th. Like, a grown man's going to cry over that? No, he's just figuring out, who do I, and if you look at the timeline of that guy, he wrote a book not that long ago saying that Trump was a sore loser like Stacey Abrams. When the book came out, it was when everybody was pro DeSantis over Trump. There was a 3-month period. Tim Pool, Hodge Twins polls, Crowder, all these mainstream people started realizing that Trump was selling the vaccine too much and DeSantis was impressing them more. And for 3 months, all the influencers were hopping off the Trump train and being like, all right, he's a good guy. We love Trump, but it's time to retire and move on because you're just not our leader anymore. That's when the book came out where Vivek was saying that Trump was a sore loser like Stacey Abrams. Because if it looks like Trump is about to get sidelined and you might have to run against DeSantis or whoever, call him a sore loser, say he's like Stacey Abrams, say election fraud that didn't happen. And then, maybe, but then it's like 4 months later, Trump had this massive resurgence because of the Alvin Bragg court case, which saved Trump's, I wouldn't say saved it, but made his primary from like a 50-50 to like 100-0. He has no chance of losing. And now all of a sudden I go from I cried on January 6th and he's a sore loser and I'm a pharmaceutical CEO to like MAGA, 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 MAGA. It's like these people would be wearing pussy hats and yelling George Floyd if they weren't in 2020 already, And I'm not saying they all were, but it's just like so obvious to me that they're only here because there's opportunity and money. And what I'm seeing happening now, I'll probably get into it more eventually, possibly, because like on one hand, I'm not trying to talk about all this stuff, but when people misconstrue it, it makes me want to explain it so at least people know, and then they could make their own decision. But when people say stuff like, oh, Anomaly's always burning bridges, I didn't burn a bridge with Tim Pool. Tim Pool burned a bridge with me. Okay. I never had a problem with him, never said anything about him. I mean, I wasn't like a super fan or anything, but he left me stranded at an airport. They messed up the booking. I could have made it. They talked to me like I was a piece of trash. They left me at the hotel. They still owe me money. They didn't pay for it. They lied about it. And then my flight got delayed or canceled the next day, and I was stuck there for 2 or 3 days. They owe me money. They lied to me. They treated me like shit. And I could have made it to the podcast, but they just had no interest. They basically flew me in, screwed me over, and then left me stranded for 3 days and didn't pay for it. I didn't burn a bridge with Tim Pool. They booked me on the show, screwed me over, lied to me, didn't pay me for the hotel that they said they would because I had to reschedule just because they left me stranded. I didn't burn that bridge. They burned it with me. With Patrick Bet-David, I didn't burn a bridge with Patrick Bet-David. He burned a bridge with me. And I don't want to fully explain it, but maybe one day I will without getting too personal, because I still, appreciate Patrick and his team as human beings. But it's like, I don't run around burning bridges. Everyone wants to burn a bridge with me. And to me, I absolutely feel a certain way. If we're talking in negotiations for 3 months about hiring me, and he says that he thought I was the best journalist during COVID and stuff, it is what it is that the business deal fell through. But it's like, if you tell me that you think I was the best or one of the best journalists during COVID, and a deal doesn't work out between the two of us, no big deal. But then you hire Chris Cuomo, and then you don't ignore my text for like twice in a row over the course of 2 months that you won't even have me on the podcast. It's like, how can you do 3 months trying to hire me, but you don't even respect me enough to have me on the podcast? And then you're going to pay millions of dollars to a guy like Chris Cuomo, who pushed pharmaceutical and lockdown propaganda, and parade him around as false opposition. I didn't burn a bridge with them. They burned a bridge with me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just starting to think that it's like, people don't want the truth. They just want to suck me dry and suck the information out of me, and then try to figure out how to present somebody else as authentic, and then make the money from the authenticity and the truth that actually is making money now. It's like, oh, how do we just pretend to do that, but not do it, and then scam Republicans and tell them that we're doing this while we're not doing it, so we get that real estate and we get that huge piece of the pie so we can make Joe Rogan money. So it's like, and it is what it is, but it's like, so I'll make a whole video on it one time, like a full video, because the whole thing came to be is I saw the Patrick Bet-David, Neil deGrasse Tyson interview, and I was impressed. Neil deGrasse Tyson sucks. He's a propagandist and a liar. And Patrick Bet-David cooked him. And Patrick was the first person I ever really saw in a while just cook Neil deGrasse and call him a liar. So I was like, you know what? That's awesome. So I messaged Patrick, right? I just said, great job with your Neil deGrasse Tyson interview. That was awesome. Because I didn't know who he was before I saw that. So once I messaged him that, he messaged me back within 5 minutes. And my thought process in messaging him was two things. One, I'm very rarely inspired by people in this movement because everybody's fake. So when I see something authentic and real, I like to compliment it and let people know, keep doing that, because we need more of that, right? Second, I thought maybe he'll have me on the podcast, but it wasn't like a hard sell. It was like, maybe I could go on his podcast, but either way, I just want to let him know he's doing a good job. He hits me back within 5 minutes. He goes, dude, give me a call, right? Gives me his number. Call him. And he goes, dude, you're one of the best journalists I saw during COVID. I see your content everywhere, man. You're one of the best. Keep it up, man. He's like, we're building a team down here at Valuetainment. Like, we would love for you to come visit, and check it out. So I said, sure. Yeah, I'm going on a cruise out of Florida in like a month or two. Say less. I'll be down there. I'll get my own hotels and everything. Like, I'll come check it out, see what you want. And then when I got there, he's like, would you be willing to move here? Would you want to work with us? And I said, possibly, because, in general, it's like, I like doing what I'm doing. I'm doing fine. But at the same time, yeah, I'd love to work with better videographers and producers and a team. That would be cool. Do what, like, it's equivalent to like me doing a concert by myself or me doing a concert with a band. It's just cooler with a band. If you have great people around you, you could do better work than you can by yourself. So I was considering it. But anyway, I don't want to get into it too much. I might make a video about it one day, and nothing personal or nothing like super like, low blow or anything. I would never do that. I really like a lot of his people as people. But, when we were doing deals and stuff, they were always just saying sideways stuff to me. Like, people were like, oh, don't burn a bridge with them. They're burning bridges with me all the time, just how they're talking to me. Like, he's like, oh, you're the one who hit me up for a job. And it's like, That's what he said to me one time. I was like, that's not what happened at all, bro. I didn't ask you I'm not begging for a job. Like the whole time they were talking to me like I was a piece of shit, like I just needed a job and I needed them. I messaged him and said, good job on the Neil deGrasse Tyson interview. And my real motivation was, one, I really enjoyed the podcast. So I wanted to let him know that that's the right energy. Like we need more of that in the world. And also it's like, maybe they'll ask me to come on the podcast. It wasn't to get a job. I don't need a job. I have a job. I have income. I've created my own business. I wouldn't mind partnering with somebody, but it's like they're like they'd be like, oh, you came to me, and it's like that's literally not what happened. So it's like they burned a bridge with me. They kind of like wanted to be involved with what I was doing, get me involved with what they were doing. It didn't work out. Wasn't annoyed about it. Obviously, I was a little annoyed at how they were talking to me, but in general, it's like I wasn't even that annoyed. It's like whatever, business doesn't always work out. But it's like I absolutely do feel a certain way. If you could talk to me for 3 months and connect me with your lawyers and meet your team and this and that, and you won't have me on the podcast, but then you hire Chris Cuomo to lie to your audience and have these like basic discussions. Now I just consider you like Fox News or MSNBC. It's not even like a personal thing. It's just like, I don't think this guy is I don't think he's really interested in awakening and enlightening Republicans. I think he's trying to be the new Fox News, dumb you down, feed you cattle fodder, rot your brain, and then present it as if, oh, you're getting the left and the right. You're getting us and them. But it's like their right-wing conversations are not that impressive. Nothing Cuomo says is that impressive. It's all this like feel-good, WWE drama, like nonsense that's not going anywhere. There is no real critical thinking or discussion. And if they really wanted to, it's not like I demand that I'm on the podcast like out of nowhere. It's like they tried to hire me and we talked for months. So it's like if that can falls through, no big deal. But then you ignore me and blow me off twice when I say, let's have a legendary conversation on the podcast. That's messed up, in my opinion. So they burned a bridge with me. Tim Pool burned a bridge with me. I don't run around burning bridges. And you know what? I'll tell you guys this too. I'm going to keep this under an hour for sure. I have friends all over the place. Like even yesterday, I was at an expo and I was doing interviews with a company that I work with called Life Cycle. But I was going like there's all the at conferences, there's all these like panels and they have like little like pop-up shops or what are they called? Like exhibits. I was doing interviews and like 3 in a row, people recognized me. 1, 2, 3. It was like 3 in a row and all 3 of them recognized me. The reason I'm saying that is like I have friends all over the place. I have millions of followers. As much as some of these companies try to pretend like I'm not like, oh, you're nothing. It's like I'm well known. You know what I'm saying? Because my numbers are real. I'm not cooking the books. I have a billion views. I have million, like they're out there. You know what I'm saying? And they're good people. But in general, I have good people at almost every company. You know what I'm saying? I know good people at like every independent media. When I went to Patrick Bet-David's thing, he had like supporters of mine that work for him, all this. But long story short, at other companies like independent media that are big, that you guys know who they are. Like I've had conversations with my buddy years ago, nothing heavy, just as friends, like saying what I thought about everything. I was like, listen, I'm not being a hater because, there's value in what other people are doing, but it's not what you think it is. And also I was like, just pointing certain stuff out and he thought for years, he was just like thinking I was being a hater. And like recently within the last couple months, he comes back to me and he's like, bro, you were right about all that stuff. I just didn't even think about that stuff. Now I see what you're saying and you were totally right. It's like, it always happens that way where it's like, I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm not trying to be overly critical, but the truth is the truth. And if people don't believe it now, it's like, you'll see it in a couple years. So it's like, it always comes across like I'm just being like a dick. But to me, what happened during COVID was no joke. What happened to our Constitution, what happened to our money supply, what's happening to our country now, it's not really a joke to me. So it's like, if you're trying to essentially block me from speaking about it while you're hiring a known liar about it, what else are you really trying to do besides just scam Republicans, scam Trump supporters? Like, give them the false illusion of choice, the false illusion of discussion, the false illusion of left and right, and the false illusion of criticism. Like, if you want to listen to, you could listen to like, heavy debates on a lot of topics. But if you listen to like Anna Navarro debate Rachel Maddow, that's not a left and right debate. That's a fake left and right debate. Rachel Maddow is a psychopath. Anna Navarro is not really a conservative. I don't know what she is or who she wants to be. I don't really care because I could care less about TV, but it's like, would you watch that and say, oh, I'm getting the full discussion? It's like, that's what people who watch MSNBC get. And that's why they're losing their minds, because it's not like nothing's real. It's all just like theater designed to rot your brain, piss you off, and sell pharmaceuticals to you. Robert said, anomaly leopards don't change their spots just the way you see them. If someone's willing to bend themselves for groupthink, they lose their individuality. I'd rather see the group fall than bend my individuality. Thank you, Robert, for the super chat. I want to say this too, because I do want to keep this under an hour, I promise. I see why people do certain things though. Like I could really speak on my own journey the most because I know it. Everything else is like somewhat speculation. But for me, when they take your money, when they blacklist you, like it's the same as the COVID vaccine. It's like they're prodding at you and stabbing at you and saying, get this. You want your job? Do this. You want to travel? Do this. You want this? Do this. They do the same thing in this industry, just not with vaccines. It's like, you want to talk about the speech laws for Israel? Well, now you're blacklisted from here, 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 and here. Once you're blacklisted from the main 4 fake alternative media podcasts, it's hard to have a career. I mean, it's possible, but it's not as easy. And then it's like, if you're making money on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, and then they cut your income, it's like, how are you gonna, if everybody's making money and you're like going in the negative to try to get the truth out there, just business wise, you're not going to be able to compete over the next couple of years. So I don't even complain about this stuff much. I pretty much never actually complain about it. I only talk about it, but you never hear me playing the victim. I'm not a victim. I'll figure it out. I don't even want to give anyone the satisfaction of thinking that they could stop what I'm doing, because they can't. But in general, it's like, you understand? It's like, if they can take your income on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, cut off your reach, slash your audience in half, tell you that you're hateful, publish articles saying that it's hate speech what you're saying, and then all the major influencers are basically told behind the scenes not to work and talk with you. That's them trying to do one of two things: either replace you with somebody that will play ball, or shame you into essentially taking the vaccine. Not the literal vaccine, but it's like, you want this, do this. And then once you do it, then they give you all the stuff. This is what they're doing. I know it sounds crazy. I know I sound like a hater sometimes, even though I'm not. I know I don't think, like, when I think things, oh, I think Nikki Haley might be doing that. I think Trump might be doing that. I tell you, I think strongly. I know this. I don't think it. I know it. I know for a fact. I know it, like, as much as I know that Operation Warp Speed gave $18 billion to the pharmaceutical industry on paper. I know this. I don't think it. So, that's what they're doing. They're trying to create the illusion of opposition. And, the only people that could really break through the cracks is if you get so big that it's like a leverage game. Like, say, like Candace Owens, she's talking about a lot of real stuff. She can get away with it because she's just so much bigger than everybody. So no one can really tell her anything. Like, she doesn't need to do business with anybody. She could sign to whoever she wants or make her own network. Like, that's how you get to the point. So to provide solutions with myself, the last year or so has really lit a fire under my ass, because I've always done my thing. I've always been content, but I realize what's going on now. I realize what everybody's doing. And it's not necessarily like just directed at me. It's a lot of different things, but I see how Instagram and Facebook's changing. I see the business model. I see how everybody's getting certain sponsors, and that's more important now because the social media companies are trying not to pay more. So I see that happening, and I've always wanted to work with people, but I've come to the conclusion that, especially after, Tim Pool burned a bridge with me and what PBD and stuff did, God bless them. But I'm just saying, it's made me realize I really have two options. Either I really have to play ball, or I'm not. And I've never been a quitter or anything, but basically what I'm saying is, like, I'm really going to focus on the business aspect of it. Because if I don't focus on the business aspect of it, they're just going to try to swallow me up and then give you some like Walmart version anomaly that's stupid that they can own. Just like, if you look at some of these people's staff, like look at Tim Pool's entire staff. Can any of them make it on their own? If Ian seems like a nice guy, but like the Ian guy, if he had his own show and left him tomorrow, would anybody follow him? He's been on a podcast with like 50,000, like hundreds of thousands, millions of like listeners every day. And he's got no engagement on any social network and no one cares what he has to say. I'm just being honest. It's like same with a lot of the PBD co-hosts. I mean, they're nice guys. I really like them as people, but if they didn't have Patrick elevating them every day, no one cares. They're not able to build it. So if I could get a billion views and millions of followers to the side of all of that, imagine if they plug me into one of those things. It would be rocket mode. You know, I'm already rocket mode. I'm already known, more well known than their whole staff. I'm already bigger than Chris Cuomo on certain platforms, even though he's on television for 20 years. So it's not a competition because that's not what's important. But when they try to use that stuff as leverage, like we're going to do this, that, and it's like you're not though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build my own business model. I'm going to get my own situation in order. I'll hire my own talent. I didn't really want to go that route because I don't want to run my own business like that. I have my own with just myself. But it's like if there's two options of these people replacing me with Chris Cuomo to propagandize Trump supporters or me creating my own, I'm going to create my own. So it's lit a fire under my ass to, you know, really take it to the next level because I've never had a problem doing what I'm doing because this has always been my thought process. I don't care what other people think. Like I've met other people at events where like they act like they're doing so well. Like everyone always, I don't have an act. Why would I care what someone else thinks? If I'm making money and I'm getting billions of views and people know what I'm saying and I'm influencing culture, who cares who thinks what? I'm not doing it for an award show. I can't get an Oscar for this. So I don't care what people think. So it's never bothered me what people think. Well, Anomaly, like he doesn't have a good setup. Could it be better? Of course. Should it be better? Probably. But at the same time, guys, I'm running circles around these people. So if I could get 100 million views doing videos with my cell phone, who cares? You know, it's getting hundreds of thousands of shares and whatever. So I've never really cared, but now it's getting to the point where it's like, you know, not just like independent media, but social media. They're trying to like phase out the business model and shift the business model, but I see it. That's all. Like I love business. I love marketing. I'm really tapped into it. So I'm just going to create it. You know what I'm saying? I never it was never like, oh, I wouldn't work with them or I wouldn't work with these people, but everyone sent the message to me. They don't want to work with me. They want to blacklist me. They don't want to talk to me. And they want to elevate people that are either a shell of who I am in every sense of the word or some Democratic media plant. That's who they want to give their money to, not who they consider the best independent COVID journalist. So what does it say if you want to shell out money to a pharmaceutical foreign war? Like that's not real opposition. So it is what it is. I appreciate the inspiration. I appreciate the motivation. And there's a 0% chance I'm ever going to let these people phase me out. And these people is anyone. It doesn't matter if it's Facebook, Instagram, whatever. But I'm going to create that business model now, or at least figure out what I have to do to take it to the next level. Because I've been coasting for a couple years now just because it's fine and I don't really care. I don't, you know, I'm always just trying to figure out like, what do I want to do? Like, what am I doing it for? I've never cared about power and money. Like I'm the type of person, if I have enough to do what I need to do, I'm not like a power hungry. I need $100 billion, $1 billion, $1 trillion. Like that's not me. It's like, dude, you give me enough to fly where I want to fly, vacation where I want to vacation, see my family. I'm cooking, dude. I don't care if no one knows or, you know, like that was always my thought. But I realized that that's not, you know, it's like if you're a mom and pop shop and Amazon's just crawling down your neck. It's like you didn't want to have to think that way, but you have to, or else they're going to swallow you up. That's how I feel about the moves that everybody's making. And it's all good. I'm not complaining. It's inspirational to me now because I'm like, okay, you don't want to work with me. You burned a bridge with me. You blacklisted me. You know, this media organization won't invite me to events and told me that my tweets are too hateful, even though they pretend to be Republican. I know all these things. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess, you know, because if you look at the staff at these places, dude, the competition is not good. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the competition is not good. Their business models are good. They're not funny or, you know, I mean, there are people who are funny. Like Theo Vaughn is funny. Andrew Schultz is funny. Owen Benjamin's funny, but he's not on like that level of mainstream stuff. He does his own thing. Like there's people that are funny. Tim Pool's not funny. Tim Pool's not interesting. He's not charming. He's not nice. He's not a good interviewer. Like, and his whole staff, they'd have no job if he wasn't elevating them, you know, and same with a lot of these other people. It's like, they're nothing special. The only thing they are is like, in my view, they play ball and they have no leverage. So, they're useful because they have nowhere else to go. So that makes them useful to these companies or something. But it's like I'm not, I'm not letting that happen. I see what's going on, and at the end of the day, if that's the route that every media platform is going to go, I'm gonna figure something out. So someone said you need a team. I'm building a team this year. I've done it by myself. 1 billion views, millions of followers. I get recognized everywhere I go. I have love everywhere. And I'm only saying that because these people try to act like I'm not that. Like they try to artificially elevate themselves and other people like they're so special and make me pretend like I'm so shit. It's like it is what it is. Definitely I'm working on building a team. And you know what? I'll find like all the talent that they're passing off on, I'll figure out. Cause like I don't want to rehash a failed mainstream media loser. Like that's demonic. Like I'd rather get somebody that's actually talented and, like underrated. And to be fair, I've done that my whole career also. I have, say what you want, and I don't really care what people think, but I have a signed book from Candace Owens, and in the signed book, Candace wrote to me, "Thank you so much for being one of the first people to elevate my content on Facebook. That changed my life forever. I appreciate you." Candace Owens is one of the biggest personalities in the world, and she credits me with helping elevate her. No, I didn't own her. I didn't sign her to a contract, and I got nothing financial out of that. I did it out of the goodness of my heart, and to be honest, just I have good instinct of what's good and what's not, what's real and what's not. So it's like they could act like I'm not influential, yet I helped influence probably the most important media person in like of the year. She's crushing it. She's going harder than anybody on topics that nobody wants to talk about. And it's like I don't need someone's like, "Oh, you're nothing," this and that. I've done my work. I've elevated people. I just haven't made a business model out of it, which is maybe dumb, but like I never did things just to like, "Oh, you got to pay me back," or "I need money." It's like, no, if this is good, the world should see it. If this is real, everybody needs to see it. If you're good and nobody is realizing you're good, I'll realize it because I do it for the right reasons. It's easy to see talent when no one else sees it because if it's real, I don't need confirmation or a business to tell me that it's real. I know that it is. So, I'm gonna build a team. I'm working on it now. And whether no matter how big or small the team is, I see what's going on. I see how people are acting. I do believe that they're trying to control the opposition, make them stupider. And they're not in it to tell the truth to Trump supporters because they really love you now. They realize that Trump supporters, conservatives, patriots, freedom fighters, and truthers, after 30 years, 50 years, 60 years of people desperately trying to make that a thing, it's been made a thing. Real quick, before I know I got to keep this under an hour because I promise. G. Edward Griffin just got retweeted by Elon Musk last night. He's 91 years old. I love that guy. He's so smart, dude. He's so with it when we do podcasts and stuff. Like he's like troubleshooting at 91. It's unreal. G. Edward Griffin's like incredible. But like at 91, after 90 years of truth telling, he's bigger than ever. You know what I'm saying? Like trutherism after suffering for 40, 50 years is like a market now, which is incredible. I'm so happy. But do not let people that aren't really telling the truth and people that don't really like you, don't let them seize it like it's a pharmaceutical product. Make them earn it and make sure, give your attention to who you want to give your attention to, but do not let them trick you too easily. Republicans are too easy to trick. Make sure that it is what it is and really have your critical thinking skills, not just for everyone else, with me too, because that's the game. You got to pay attention. You got to be aware because this is a big business now. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. The big dogs are going to swoop in and try to steal it from the real people and then rebrand it. So don't let it happen. And just letting you guys know real quick, Money Moicano, he's a UFC fighter. Really funny. It's going to be a lot of cursing. So if you don't want to hear curses, don't listen to it. He curses a lot. But yeah, dude, I'm excited. 12 o'clock, hour and a half. I'm going to be talking to him. So bonus show today with him. We're going to talk about the world, America, politics, and also a little bit of UFC. But I know he's game to talk about like how he sees the world. It should be pretty fun. All right. Appreciate you guys. God bless. I'll be back soon. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, Stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk for $5 a month. You can help support me, support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work with very many sponsors, sometimes none at all. And part of the way I'm able to do that is